This is Geometry Dash, a 2D game about jumping and dodging obstacles. And this is Arras.io, an open 2D shooter. But what will happen if we combine the two? Well, today I will tell you the story of how I managed to overcome many challenges and recreate Geometry Dash in Arras.io. I started this journey on a simple white document, brainstorming ideas, when I thought of recreating Geometry Dash in Sandbox, which is a game mode in Arras.io that allows you tools to toy around with its different mechanics. To recreate it, I would need to solve many problems that the limitations of Arras.io imply that made people think it would be impossible. There are many features that Geometry Dash has that Arras.io does not possess, which served as roadblocks in my journey. Arras.io does not have a camera control built into it, so we have to move the player with walls to recreate it. To build an auto-scroll system, you need to do many things. First, open Arras.io, go to Sandboxes and select one. And now you're in-game. Copy the link and make an out, which is just a second tab. Now you need to link one of them to a wall. To do so, press this to make your wall. Then press this to drag it. Keep it pressed and then unpress the apostrophe. And now you have temporarily linked yourself to the wall. Congratulations. Now you need to reload the page, go back to your sandbox, and you are now permanently linked to the wall. In my minigame, I used it like a barrier that pushes you and forces you to go ahead of it. To solve this problem, I thought of building a dragging system using the auto-scroll method, but the idea crumbled when I realized that I would not move in any way the object that was being dragged. I ended up settling on using the edge, because it can pull you down. Not only that, but I would build a contraption on the northern side of the arena. The only problem is that it requires too much recoil to get far into the edge, which brings me to the third problem. To solve the jump, I wanted you to use a high recoil tank like the Annihilator, but it also has a very low recoil. Then I thought of using the special Annihilator variant that has infinite reload, but it's only available to featured YouTubers and Shiny members, which have developer powers in Sandbox. So I eventually settled on using a combination of tanks that I would switch depending on my height. To achieve different jump heights, I would switch between the Mega Smasher tank for better maneuverability and the Booster tank for its high recoil. Another problem is how small the edge actually is. Levels in GD go up and down a lot, and the Arras.io edge is very small, so when I would descend below the edge, I would just make the gravity using recoil. Now for the last big problem. All the previous problems have been to solve just one game mode, the cube. There are a total of 8 different game modes that I would have to solve, which would be almost impossible. So to reduce the game mode count, I decided to recreate the first level in GD, Stereo Madness. Stereo Madness serves as an introductory level to the game. It has simple jumps, but most importantly, it only uses 2 game modes, the cube and the ship. To use the ship in GD, you simply hold up and the ship goes up, and then if you release, it goes down. The ship would be impossible to do with the normal gravity, so I would use a booster and simply reverse it when I need gravity. The sandbox arena has a limited size, so I would build a part of it, a small segment of the level, and then delete it and make the next part, and so on, and then edit them all together. Since I wanted to recreate Stereo Madness, I would need to get it into some sort of spreadsheet or something to be able to copy it accordingly. I found a video of it on YouTube. Using it, I would screenshot a segment of the video, then make another screenshot for the next part of the level, and import the screenshots into Canva, giving me many panels to reference myself to when building. The end result was 53 individual panels that I will make in Arras.io. I started building. Thankfully, by the time I started building, there was an update that allowed us to get 2 extra outs in Sandbox, and sandboxes grow with the player count. The first step was to spawn in my outs. Then I lock one of them to a wall. Then I start building the rails for the auto scroll, making sure to build it 3 to 4 blocks below the starting position to allow me freedom of movement when building it. Then I finished setting up the auto scroll, build the ground, and then came the hard part, the level. At first, no issues seemed evident, but it all changed quickly. The Arras.io edge has a length that you can go through, because the deeper you go in, the more it pulls you back. So there is a certain area that I can jump in, so if the level goes more than a few blocks upwards, I can't keep building. The jump was almost too high for this, but I just barely made it. I had to switch to booster to counter the pull and go high up. The level went too high for the booster to climb up here, so I made a simple mechanism which used a black and a directional wall to boost myself upward. It has very simple structures throughout the segment, with some spikes here and there. To start off the ship, I counted, or at least estimated, how many blocks it had. Then I did the same for the height. Afterwards, I put all of the necessary blocks from one point to another. Then came the hard part, which was building the ship part. I had to count how many blocks each part had, and estimate them based on my current position. To build the ship physics, I did a few things. For starters, I built an auto-scroll system, which was neat, but I could not use the regular edge here for the gravity since the ship section is very tall. So I settled on maxing my stats, which allows me to move freely through the edge. My plan was to use a booster to move up and down, and then I wanted to move down. I would reverse my tank. I also made a portal using a neat trick, I know. The weird thing is that it was very glitchy. After a few hours of work, the first ship was ready. Now onto the second cube. The second cube of Stereo Madness is probably the hardest part to make. While it was slightly shorter than the beginning cube, it only goes very high, which as we know is already a big problem. Now came the hardest panel of the whole level, the Great Ascent. Here the player moves up many blocks, much more than is possible to ascend with the Arras.io edge. At first, I tried building the mechanism to ease the upward climbing, but I soon realized that at that height, the pull from the edge was simply too strong for that. So I made myself invulnerable to the edge and made the gravity artificially. I would tilt myself at 340 degrees to replicate the gravity with my recoil. Once I was ready to play it, I stumbled onto another big issue. The auto-scroll system was not tall enough because of how tall the level went. So I spent the next 20 minutes building a system to make the wall go up and down. And in the end, it was beautiful. It worked perfectly. This ship includes many obstacles and an entire alternate route for the final coin and a lot of blocks. I counted 200 when measuring, and I had to do 3 lines of them, since the coin added another layer of blocks on top of the normal ones. With the help of JustAnArrasPlayer, I built all of these walls. He taught me a very cool strategy to build them, so shout out to him. Before I showcase the level, I would like to thank you all for getting me to 1k subscribers. 1k is quite a big number, and I did not think I would reach anytime soon, so thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Now, after battling limitations, many moments where it felt impossible, and many months of planning and building, may I present to you Arras Madness.